This time we'll resume the meeting of April 18th, 2016. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clower?
Here.
Councilmember Gomez?
Here.
Mayor Velasquez?
Here.
Councilmember Friend?
Present.
Councilmember Luna?
Present.
City Manager Rivera?
Present.
City Attorney Sullivan?
Present.
Police Chief Westrick?
Here.
And the record will show City Clerk Graves is absent.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Clara, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Verification of agenda posting, please.
The agenda for the City Council of the City of Hollister meeting of April 18th, 2016 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on April 15th, 2016 at 9:40 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you very much. City Attorney, do you want to report out?
Yes, Mayor. I was present for two discussions, and that was item C, the conference with labor negotiators, discussed the minor changes to the agreement between city and the mid-management group. That is item on the consent agenda number 5. And then on item number D, discussion was provided as to the status of CFD number 2. Some documentary issues have become apparent, and staff direction was given.
Okay, thank you very much. Tonight we have 2 proclamations and 1 presentation, I believe. First one is from the National Small Business Week, and the second will be Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Are those 2 groups here? Small business. Whereas every year since 1963, the President of the United States has issued a proclamation announcing National Small Business Week. And now, therefore, I, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, do hereby proclaim May 1st through May 7th, 2016 as National Small Business Week in Hollister, California, and call upon our community to recognize their contributions and support our local small businesses. Thank you very much. 2 seconds, 2 minutes.
2 seconds. I just want to let everyone know that the Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring a small business contest. So every business that you see one of these in, each time you purchase something in their business between the 1st and the 7th, your name will be entered into a contest to win gift certificates to spend at local businesses within San Benito County. So look for these the week of the 1st through the 7th, and you can enter as many times as you spend money within San Benito County. Thank you.
Also, I wanted to add a great job on all the Julie, small business, and the Chamber for bringing all the film crews to our community lately. So thank you very much for all that work. The next proclamation is for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas sexual assault is an intolerable violent crime with public health implications for every person in Hollister, as a victim, survivor, or as a family member, significant other neighbor or co-worker, or a victim survivor. And now, therefore, I, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Hollister. There you are.
Thank you, council members in our community. I just want to first off recognize Councilmember Gomez for his participation in Welcome Mile and his availability to also be the MC this year. It was a great event by the community, a lot of fun. in great partnership with the Mayor's House. And it's a great opportunity for our community members to get involved and to highlight domestic violence and sexual assault awareness and bring that prevention awareness to our community. And we had a great success. Even though it was raining, a lot of folks still came out and participated, which is amazing. Our agency, Community Solutions, serves, last year we served 68 survivors of sexual assault in our community. We couldn't do that work without the great participation of Hollister Police Department, the sheriffs, and the district attorney's office. We value our partnership with all of our partners in bringing the best trauma-informed work we can to survivors. And Community Solutions is pledges to continue to bring awareness to this issue through prevention and education at our local high schools and with our different community members. So thank you again for recognizing this month and for all of the great work you guys do.
Thank you for everything you do. And thank you to Vice Mayor Gomez for wearing those high heels. Now we're going to have a presentation about Water Awareness Month from the San Benito County Water District.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm actually with the Water Resources Association of San Benito County. I have to give due respect to the other agencies that fund my agency. But this year I usually ask you for a proclamation. I'm still going to do that, but instead of reading a proclamation...
We gave you one at the other meeting. You weren't here.
Well, but we got little signals crossed, but I still want to proclaim May as Water Awareness Month. But I thought tonight it's better to go over like where we've been, where we are, and where we're going with our water supply because it's critical to everything we got going in the city. Thank you. I can figure this out. Forward button. Okay, you guys are messing with me.
You are failing miserably.
Come on, city.
We just gave you a clicker. We didn't want it to work.
You guys did that to me on purpose. It's big buildup and nothing happens.
Sorry.
Can you do it manually? Yeah. All right, we have the technology. All right, well, first of all, I want to tell you about what the rainfall we've had the last few years, and we also get imported water from the Central Valley Project, and those are our two main water sources that we have. You can see in 2012 we only got 7.1 inches. Our average rainfall is 13 inches, so in 2013 we got 6.3, 2014 5.4, 2015 10.6. And our water year goes from October 1st to September 30th. So from October of 2015 to now we've gotten almost 12 inches, which is right in our normal range. So everybody said this El Nino was going to help take us out of drought. It has not done that. We're thankful for the rain. It's helped out a lot, but we got a long way to go, so we still have to be diligent with our water conservation. You can see on the right side there that box there shows you what we import from the Central Valley Project, and you can see in 2014, 2015, we got a 0% allocation, zero water for our ag industry here, so they had to pump our groundwater basin. They just announced the allocations for this year for ag. It's 5%. We hope that might go up a little bit. It doesn't sound like a lot, but we'll take it over a zero allocation. Next slide, please. So to catch up with what's happened over the last few years, we would have had gotten 23 inches of rain this year, which is never was going to happen. So, and just to let you know how much water we need each year, we need about 20,000 acre-feet of water. That previous slide showed you we have about acre-foot of water is about 325,000 gallons. So that's a lot of water. And that 20,000 acre-feet of water keeps our basin in balance so we don't overdraft it. Last year we received 20,000 acre-feet from the CVP system. The last time we got that was 2012. So we haven't got that in going on 4 years now. And water use in our basin last year was 40,000 acre-feet. So you can see we are going into a little bit of deficit. We're not as severe as the Central Valley, but we have seen our groundwater elevations drop over the last 4 years. And that's why we really need to stretch our water. So next slide, please. So we have to keep improving with our abilities to cope with drought. And the other factors that we're dealing with is California, the population keeps growing. We're at about 38 million people right now. They project in the future by 2050 we'll have 60 million people living in the state. And we have the same amount of water. So that means we're going to have to be a lot smarter with our water use, be as efficient as possible. You also see the specter of climate change. They show that there'll be big changes in the future with warmer temperatures, less snowpack. And our whole water system for the state is based on that snowpack. We get nice snow up in the Sierras, then it gradually melts in June and July and fills up our reservoirs. So this year we have close to normal, but it's still a little underbit where we'd like to see it. Next slide, please. So what are we doing? Well, we need to get some more water storage. One of the things is to be able to move water from reservoirs into our groundwater whenever we have a wet year. We can store it in our groundwater basin. Our groundwater basin holds about 500,000 acre-feet of water, so we have a lot of storage in our groundwater basin, so that's very fortunate for us. Just to give you some comparison, the San Luis Reservoir holds about 2 million acre-feet, so we have about a quarter of that storage capacity right here in our groundwater basin. And that's what's got us through the drought, because we've been living on that for the last 4 years at least. So anyway, hopefully what we can do is when the reservoirs fill up again, we can move that water into our county and let it percolate into our groundwater basin to help fill it up again. We need to reduce our water demand. A lot of people see these new houses being built. If you notice, they're smaller lots. They have very efficient landscapes, and they have all the latest low water use technology as far as toilets, appliances, sinks, things like that. And then the big project we have going on is being able to use our wastewater, clean it up, use it for ag, and we're hoping to get close to about 1,000 acre-feet of water this year. That'll be exciting. That's supposed to go online late July, maybe early August. So there's a pipeline going from the reclamation plant out Wright Road, and a lot of those farms out there will be able to tap into that. So that's almost like having another source of water. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing that's going on is the Hollister urban area. Can you go to the next slide, please? The Hollister urban area water project. They just refitted the LaSalle water treatment plant at the top of LaSalle at the top of Sunny Slope last year, and that's working really well. And they just started building a new water treatment plant last fall over off Union Road across from the reservoir over there up on the hill. And between those two treatment centers, they're going to do about 6 million gallons of water a day that they're able to treat. And how's that going to benefit us? Well, we're going to use a lot more surface water that will go to your homes. That will improve the quality of the water going into your home. So we'll have better tasting water, won't have as much mineral content. And then the exciting thing to me is when it leaves your house, it'll be a higher quality wastewater. So we can clean that up and use it, and then what we put back in the groundwater basin is going to be higher quality, so it will help protect our groundwater basin. So that's really exciting to me. And then I just got to keep hammering on people about using that water efficient. You got to treat it like gold, okay? And don't waste it. It costs you money. It costs the community because we can use it for other purposes. Next slide, please. Right now, we're working on a couple things. One of the things we're working on is the Urban Water Management Plan, which we're hoping to have done in July sometime. This is a document that's required by the state every 5 years. And we assess our water, where we get our water from, how we're using it. We take a look at everything. What is the demand in the upcoming years? So it's a real critical time. Those are public documents. We'll have public hearings for those, so the public wants to get involved, they can. But this is when we really dissect our source of water and what the demand's going to be. Next slide, please. In addition, we're working on a local plan here for our immediate area between the city of Hollister, the Sunny Slope County Water District, and the San Benito County Water District. It's called our master plan update. And again, that looks about how we continually improve our water systems, our drinking water and wastewater systems, and reach our recycled water goals, evaluation of our water supplies. So we'll be doing that on a local level and at a higher level, and just look at all the options. And we already got a game plan in place here to improve our water quality and increase our supply as well. So that's a good thing. Next slide, please. Drought is still with us. I know we see these green hills, and we know there's snow in the mountains. It's easy for people to slack off, but we really need everybody to pitch in. I'm really proud of the community. Last summer, we were like cutting back 36% from what we used in 2013, the last time we had unrestricted use of water. So, hats off to everybody. We didn't have to issue one violation to anybody. We sent out some letters to remind people, but we didn't have to give anybody a violation notice. So that was really, I can't tell you how lucky I am to work in a community that understands the importance of water. So my agency, the Water Resources Association of San Benito County, is here to help everybody that's a customer of the City of Hollister, City of San Juan Bautista, Sunny Slope County Water District, and the San Benito County Water District. So if you need help, anything from setting your programmer on your irrigation controller, If you think you have a leak, have us come out. We're kind of limited on what kind of repairs we can do, but at least we can isolate where that leak's coming from. And if it's something simple like a toilet flapper that's worn out, we carry those on the truck. We can replace them free of charge. I also put on low-flow shower heads, low-flow faucet aerators, give you a hose nozzle to use outside, because if you wash your car, you got to have one of those shut-off nozzles on there, and we have those that we give out free of charge. We also have rebates, landscape ideas. We do workshops, and then we help the city review their landscape plans on new developments coming in, and we participate in some of these documents that we're updating right now. So anyway, I'm a local resource. My name's Sean Novak. My agency is the Water Resources Association of San Benito County. Can you go to the next slide? And can you open up that internet link right there? Oh, on the slide previous to that. This might be too high technology there. You can go right-click, open link. There we go. This is a real quick little video, but it kind of highlights some of the things I'm talking about. You hit that go button, boom. This is why we focus on outside irrigation, because so much water is used outside. Over 50% of residential water use is for outside. Yeah, I just want to say California's been really good about saving water during droughts, but we're in a new era here. We need to save water all the time. It's not just during droughts. And we can help you with every one of these points here. I just want to say we have over at M&M Garden Mart at 190 San Benito Street, there's going to be a workshop on Wednesday morning from 9 to 12. We'll have a representative from the state here to talk about their turf removal program, where they're paying you to pull up your grass in your yard and help you make it more water efficient. So if you can take advantage of that, great. And Christine, if you could show that last slide on my presentation, that's my contact information. And again, we're free. I'm a resource for the county here, and if I don't know the answer to your question, I'll get an answer from you from somewhere. If I have to go outside the area or whatever, if you need help with something, I'll find out the answer for you. But anyway, I want to thank the community again for their diligence in conserving water, but we got to keep it up. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Good job.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I've gotten some information that it appears like we may be having some technical difficulties with CMAP, but I also talked to another friend who's actually watching it, so I'm not sure who's getting it and who may not be getting it. And I'm sorry, Sean, that your beautiful presentation may not have been on. So just keep that in mind tonight. And we apologize.
So we're not on TV tonight?
Well, like I said, I'm speaking to somebody who is watching.
Okay,
so.
There we go. All right, we'll move forward to the consent agenda.
Could I ask one second? I'm trying to send a signal for them. And if I could just... All right. Sorry. I'm going to stop. Sorry.
Are there any items council would like to pull from the consent? Do we have any items that the public would like to discuss?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Item A3, Keith Snow would like to ask if we could speak more on this item.
Are there any other items?
Keith Snow also has asked on A4, he would like to know more about that item. A5, he would like to know more about the salary and benefits plan. A6, what are we doing for?
Just the numbers right now. A6.
Okay, A6, A7.
A6 and A7? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Second.
The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll move forward to item A3. Mr. Snow, did you have a question?
That's more about the A3. We tell more about the on item A3.
Do you have a question about a certain item? What is it you're asking for?
I'm seeing what it keeps going on and on, so I was wondering what you guys can do about that, the council. Thank you.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
As I like it keeps going on, so I'm wondering what you guys can do about it as the council.
Well, again, it's a large item there. Is there something specific?
What changes are going to do?
Did you have an item number on there? Do you have a specific question on a specific item?
Well, you read the item, right?
I'm sorry, it's Mr. Snow again. If there is a specific item or a specific page that you had a question on, there's a few hundred pages, so we.
Can't hear him.
Okay. Mr. Rosa, can you give him the microphone so we hear what his question is?
I get wherever I brought right. Like, for example, tomorrow I made the cow car purchase and 19 Warren Richards and began there because a lot of people go to the city, right? But I want you guys to know that's what I say. What changes you guys to be making on lawsuits and like the consultant $52,000, right, from Oakland, right, Edward, wherever, and I called up over there.
Okay,
and do you want to go there more or?
Okay, Mr. Snow, thank you.
I did a lot of research.
Mr. Snow, thank you. Again, this is part of the budget, our monthly bills, and there's there's probably
bills,
about 500 items on here.
I know, but you guys
that.
should make, for example, on the budget.
Mr. Snow, please, we've had this discussion before about reviewing the agenda so you can have a specific question about these items. Okay? Thank you very much.
I think.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, item A4. Mr. Snow, you had a question?
One more, I'm going to say, you guys don't care anyway. So whatever I say, that means nothing assists anyway. So whatever I say, assistance.
Mr. Snow, do you
unless
have
I'm more Richmond.
Please, Mr. Snow, we're here to listen if you have a question, but we need a question or information item.
What is she read it off?
So you don't have a question? Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion on
Motion
item?
to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item A5. Mr. Snow? Mr. Can you please pass Mr. Snow the microphone?
I'm saying, Mayor, Council, to where I see anyway, that makes sense, right? Because you guys can do okay. I'm for the truck thing. I'm for we're on there. I'm for things, but where I see anyway, that makes sense. You guys,
But Mr. Snow, okay. Just a reminder that when we're discussing the business here, the City Council, we have to stay with the item listed.
I know,
And that item right now is item A5.
and she read the A5.
Did you have a specific question, sir?
No, what I see, what I see, you guys are okay anyway. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Snow.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item A6, Mr. Snow.
Like I'm saying over and over again, I can say whatever I want to say. You guys go ahead and okay it. I'm not saying because for me a citizen, I'm not there where you're at, right? Because I'll do totally different things.
Mr. Snow, again, the item here is number 6.
Okay.
Do you have a specific question on the item?
No. I already tell you what you read off on the item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Snow. Is there a motion on item A6?
So move.
Motion, is there a second? Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item A7, Mr. Snow.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, who seconded A6?
I did.
Thank you.
Mr. Snow, item A7, did you have a question?
I tell you where that's it on the item. You're okay anyway. So you can count where I see on the item, where I see on the item, like where I see on the item, you're okay anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Snow.
So moved.
Is the motion? Is there a second? Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're going to move forward to item C, public input. Members of the public may address the City Council on any matter within the City Council's jurisdiction that is not on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Speaker cards are available in the foyer and are to be completed and given to the city clerk prior to speaking. State law prohibits the City Council from discussing or taking action on any item which is not on the agenda. And I see a lot of red shirts back there, so I don't know how many are looking to speak. Can I see how many hands? Okay. So what we'll do is try to group you guys together. So we'll give you the time you need.
I have 8.
You have 8 of that group. Is there other speaker cards we'll take before them?
I see one more, which is 9.
Right, but do you have any other speakers other than that group?
4.
Okay, let's go through those 4 first.
Okay. Mr. Snow?
Mr. Snow?
My name is Keith President, City Officer, City Retail City Manager, Engineer. The law things, law topics, law concerns, law constituents. For one, we the district on April 13th. My mom passed away that day too, my arms. But that day wasn't the day I lay account for her. But someone came to my house, knocked on the door from Kansas Spectrum, he tried to say by my contract. And this real, right? I get phone calls from the Police Association from LA for my searches. On Sunday, the lady trying to get her card. PG came my door again, like the different day, like I mentioned the others before. But this guy, individual, didn't have no badge. I told him I wanted to be on the buy my contract, and he wasn't getting the picture. So, and I made a police report, and I gave the district, the officer gave the West. I think the one sworn today was a lady the police officer sworn in today, but was with them. But lack of communication, the paper had written on a piece of paper that not to get the district. So as a community and city, there's a lot of topics that we can do. I see the roads we're doing. Thank you very much. We're finding things pushed for letters to do that. But for a fact is, I was all managers, number 8, and the one that the county's doing. Because if you look at my page, you'll see what we should do. We should create revenue. I do see a lot of fast cars on 25 and Sunsoap. I wrote an article in the newspaper about that. I think it's a cost what happened that day. And that wasn't April Fool Day, but for a fact is, I think the officers, and we need more officers, firefighters in the city and county. But for a fact is that you guys got to do closely. I know better assistance on District 4. I get a lot of adopted people. There are a lot of things we can do in the city. Where a lot we're spending, we're doing. And a lot of ideas that we should have People's Committee. So once you guys overthink this as a council, and we should consider war, I go to the cars. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Snow. Our next speaker.
Julie Vieira.
Mr. Mayor and council members, I would like to invite the community to attend the Lunch with Leaders put on by the San Benito County Chamber. It's to discuss Measure P. It's this Wednesday from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. And Measure P has to do with repairing our roads. And we all know that our roads in San Benito County need help. So I would like to invite everyone. It's $20 for lunch. It's at San Juan Oaks. It starts at 11:30 to 1 o'clock, and we will have speakers there to explain the measure to everyone and answer questions. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Marvin Jones.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I was, before Billy got his current job there, that the street sweeping went from every week to every 2 weeks. I looked on my water bill and there was no change in the cost, so you effectively doubled the cost for sweeping the streets. And that, okay, do it every other week. Our street hadn't been swept in 3 weeks. First of the month, did we make another change? Have we gone to every 2 weeks instead of twice a month instead of every week? Have we raised the price of our street sweeping again? Water bill line item did not change. It's still the same amount. But the service has gone down, apparently. I just wondered if we've made any change in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Marty Richmond.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Marty Richmond from Hollister. I'm glad to see all these healthcare professionals in the audience tonight because my blood pressure sometimes goes high when I make these speeches. Not tonight. It will not be going high tonight because I had a bunch of complaints, but I can see the complaints are going to outnumber me, so I left my complaints in the car. I wanted to talk about something Sean just touched on, not because he touched on it, but because I saw 2 articles on it over the weekend in detail and read them, and that is the fact that they're predicting that the population in California is going to go from the current 38 million to 60 million in 2050. Well, 2050 is just around the corner. How close is 2050? Well, yeah, and Mr. Kinsella says we're not going to get our, he said 40 years, so we're not going to get our education center till 2054. So 2050 is closer than we're going to get our education center. The point is, the problems we have that we keep talking about, we can't tackle them. We got to stop tackling them on a year-to-year basis. I mean, every year we talk about affordable housing. Every year we talk about this, and then we talk about that. And basically, most of the answers are short-sighted because we're always behind the 8 ball. I suggest we kind of lift our eyes up and start putting together groups of people who want to talk about the future, not just 2035 where the general plan might go, but 2050. Maybe I won't be around to see it, and maybe many of you won't, but there will be our offspring and our friends, and hopefully because of advances in medicine, many of us may be around to see it. We're not going to be sheltered from it. I mean, if we get another 22 million people in California, I assure you we're not going to be sheltered because 2/3 of them are going to want to live within driving distance of the coast. They're not all going to live in Imperial County no matter what we want to do. So we've got to start thinking about it and start looking for long-term solutions that are real solutions, not just a bunch of people get together and say, oh, gee, it would be wonderful if we just had this. That doesn't get anything done, with all due respect. These vision things where people go and say, I wish we had this. Oh, yeah, that's nice, but you got to do what you can do, what's practical. So I hope you will look into that and think about putting together a bunch of people from the entire community who will really look and get a hard-nosed look and say, what is this really going to look like in 20 years, and what's it really going to look like in 35 years? Because we're going to be stuck living with whatever it is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Ariana Sanchez.
Are we starting with the red group now?
Yes.
Okay. Red group, come on down.
So I'm not Ariana Sanchez, but I am Dr. Teresa Mack, and I just want to make sure that I lead off for the nurses so I can give some background and context to why they're here tonight. I am Dr. Teresa Mack, and I work for the California Nurses Association, but more importantly, I work for these registered nurses. And we're here tonight, they're here tonight to talk about some very serious patient safety concerns. They are bringing it to the City Council and you, Mr. Mayor, because so far their concerns have fallen on deaf ears. And as public servants, we know you committed to this role for a reason, and we trust that, and we believe in that. And so the nurses are here to ask you to have courage to listen and hear what they have to say tonight, and to meet with them afterwards. I just want to give you a little background, and I'm sure you all know this. I'm from New York City. I'm kind of an outsider. I've only been here about a year and a half. And believe me, the weather is better. But the concerns that the nurses face here are very much the same as they are all over the country. And what's great about California is you have a very forward-thinking, really caring way of making hospitals, or at least you did in the 1960s when you created public health care districts. So that's what's great about our hospital, is it's a public sector hospital. It belongs to you. You are the guardians to these registered nurses who chose to work for the public sector. They don't make as much as Kaiser or Sutter or, the big hospitals that are privately owned. They choose to work for this hospital because they are part of this community. That's why you see their babies and their husbands, thank you husbands, here with them tonight. They took time off from work. They worked long shifts, some 12, 14-hour shifts, and they came here to talk to you tonight about serious patient care concerns. They didn't want to. They're not used to being at podiums. Some of them are a little nervous. So I hope you will listen to them, and I hope you will take their concerns seriously and agree to meet with us in more private forums hereafter. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor,
good to see
council members, good evening. Staff, chief. For those that don't know me, my name is Daniel Dodge, Senior. I am here on behalf of the office of Assembly Member Luis Alejo. I'm also a former mayor and city council member of the city of Watsonville. Assemblyman Alejo has consistently led the way in supporting our public sector and community hospitals as a vital resource for people and communities. The Assemblyman assisted the registered nurses at their struggles at the Salinas Valley Memorial Hospital and also at the Watsonville Community Hospital, where myself, Karina Cervantes Alejo, and the Assemblyman and other council members were proud to be able to stand in solidarity with our sisters here in red. The Assemblyman has not only been working behind the scenes in the Salinas Valley Memorial Hospital to bring both sides together on behalf of patient safety, but also spoke publicly in offering to serve as a mediator and find common ground. Luis has been a leader when it comes to the importance of putting the needs of patients and communities first. We are here this evening to make sure that people know that we are willing to stand behind the registered nurses in fighting for safe and quality patient care conditions at our public hospitals. This evening, on behalf of Assemblymember Alejo, we vow to support our public district hospital systems and to stand behind the people, the ladies, the members of your community that you see here today. We ask that the dedicated public officials of the Hollister City Council listen, hear the serious concerns of our nurses and agree to meet with them outside this forum. Throughout his career, the Assemblyman and others have shown that we believe, as public servants and leaders of the community, it is our duty to show courage, to standing up for what is right, defending the rights and protections of all our community members to receive.
I've got to say something here. I'm here to listen to these nurses and their problems. I don't want to hear a political speech.
Do I have 3 minutes of public comments, Mr. Mayor?
You didn't fill out a card. Sit down.
Councilmember friend, please.
You didn't fill out a card.
May I continue?
Mr. Dodge, you may continue, but please keep it to the topic. It's quasi-political there, so if you can, keep it about the nurses, and you can go from there. Thank you.
I am very disappointed in the immature action of Councilmember Friend. I would expect a little higher than that. I will finish my comments in the same.
Thank you.
That we're trying to attempt to make a point that these are members of your community. They're having difficulties in having their voice heard. They're coming to you as elected officials to be able to respect their voices, to hear their concerns, and act on the best interests of their behalf.
Absolutely, Mr. Dodge. Thank you.
And I find it insulting as a community member to have to listen to that kind of rhetoric. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We're not here.
Mr. Councilmember.
You're going to throw me out here?
No, Councilmember Friend, please. Thank you very much, Mr. Dodge.
Ariana Sanchez.
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Ariana Sanchez. I'm a registered nurse at Hazel Hawkins Hospital. I was born and raised here in Hollister, California. As a public sector nurse, I am proud and honored to give back to my patients, my friends, my neighbors, my mothers, sons, fathers, and children of our community. And while I have only worked at Hazel Hawkins as a registered nurse for 3 years, I can honestly say that I would not could not imagine working with another group of nurses. The incredible longevity and experience of nurses in our public hospital on the nurses' part is very admirable, and for management, something that we should be proud of. But it is particularly the chronic, short staffing, and connected problem of retention and recruitment that I am here to speak to you tonight. The Med-Surg department is a unique floor. We receive a widely diverse patient population and have often patients with higher acuity levels. Those who are sicker could easily become unstable. The Med-Surg unit nurses and staff treat everyone from children, infants, elderly, those coming out of surgery, going to surgery, addiction, terminally ill, and so much more. On any given night, our registered nurses are giving basic and intermediate levels of clinical care, as well as acting as teachers, comforters, counselors, and protectors. We may be doing everything from responding to a code with an emergency life-saving measure on a patient having a heart attack, teaching a new mother how to breastfeed, keeping a confused patient from climbing out of bed and injuring herself, to helping a family grieve over the loss of a loved one. I and my fellow nurses do this because we have committed our professional lives as nurses. We run to danger, not away from it. But when danger is purposeful, when it is danger that could have been averted, when the danger is due to intentional short staffing, we cannot remain silent. Although many of my fellow nurses have already stated this fact, I believe it bears repeating. Registered nurses are legally bound to advocate for our patients no matter what. We are legally required by the Board of Registered Nurses and the State of California to speak out about dangerous patient care conditions. Nurses know how critical staffing levels are because we are the front lines every single day. We know all too well that when we work chronically short, when we work long hours without a rest, break, drink a glass of water, or even a grab bite to eat, when we come in repeatedly without adequate rest between shifts, patients are the ones who suffer.
You can wrap up your statement.
Okay, I will wrap it up. When my long, challenging 12-hour shift is finally over, but yet again, another nurse is called in sick because of the long hours and overtime, of extreme fatigue, of working short, I and so many of my fellow nurses will stay to cover for one another. We do this because we care deeply about our patients, about our community. We do this because we do not want our fellow nurses to work in dangerous situations. So long after that shift, I agree to stay 14, 15, 16, even 17 hours. I want to ask our city council and community if you think this is okay. Is this safe? As nurses, we don't see numbers. We see patients. We see mothers. We see fathers. We see children. We see our loved ones. Today, we are calling our city council to see what the nurses see and help us to protect and serve the people of Hollister whom this public hospital belongs to. We are asking you to meet outside of these chambers and speak with our nurses about these serious concerns. We are asking you to take account, instead of taking a count, of how much our community and the public health are really worth. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Courtney Parinello.
Just for the additional speakers, so we have a 3-minute limit. You'll see the light go to yellow, and that kind of gives you an idea if you're getting close to that point. So if you see that light go to yellow, just start to wind down and wrap up your comments, okay? Thank you very much.
Do you guys
Who's
have a
next?
specific order you want me to call you in?
Yes. I think, Monica, I'm sorry. We didn't do that.
Do you want to maybe come over here and help her organize the order, and then we'll have your next speech. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is
Christine,
Monica.
you want to push the timer? Just so we're good. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Monica Benton. I'm one of the registered nurses here with all these lovely ladies and gentlemen at Hazel Hawkins. Okay.
There you go.
You have a tethering system? Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So, my name is Monica Benton. I'm one of the leading nurses over at the hospital with the rest of this fine group of gentlemen and ladies that we, on a daily basis, go and just with our whole hearts give the best possible care we can. And I'm here to read on the behalf of Watsonville City Council member Karina Cervantes Alejo.
Okay, so we want to be, okay, so we do want to be careful, you know, in a chamber, in a governmental chamber, when we're bringing up political names, it can be construed as campaigning, which is a violation. So you want to talk about your needs as nurses here in this community, that is okay, it's acceptable, but we cannot be bringing in names of elected officials or those seeking elective office.
So in the body of her letter to me that's in support of our cause, can I read that?
Well, what I want to know is your emotions and your feelings, not Ms. Alejo's feelings, okay?
I didn't prepare anything, but I guess I can do this ad lib.
There you go.
Okay. At least 4 nights a week, I am one of the house supervisors at the hospital here in Hollister, California, at Hazel Hawkins. I am no stranger to the staffing needs. As part of my personal duty at the hospital is to ensure that we have staff to start the oncoming shift. At any given time in the mornings, I can go down rosters and rosters of names of people to come in and fill a void, but that roster should be longer than what it is, because what you're doing is the repetitiveness that I go down the roster with. Sometimes those nurses are already exhausted from what the previous work they've done during the week, being part-time, full-time, cross-training in other departments. It's just the utilization of what we have as a body as a whole. This wonderful group of people here are amazing in what we do to establish what we have to work with, and the fact that we have the community involvement, and the fact that all of our hearts are for the community and for the best care of our patients. And as one of the leaders there, I can tell you wholeheartedly that this is the group of people here have the best community interest at heart. And for what we want you to hear is our side.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer Holm.
I only have to bring it down a little bit. My name is Jennifer Holm. I'm a visitor. I work at Watsonville Community Hospital. I came to speak with you this evening in support of the Hazel Hawkins nurses. I've been where they are. I know what's down the road, and trust me, you don't want to go there. When there's chronic short staffing, when it goes on and on and on, nurses leave. And it's not that they want to. Mr. Novak spoke earlier about this being a community. The nurses who work here, this is their community. This is their home. These are the people that they want to take care of. Conserve your nurses in the same way that you would conserve water. One of the council members at Watsonville City Council asked the nurses, well, why don't you just work somewhere else? If it's that, frustrating, why don't you work somewhere else? There is a difference when you work in your place, when you work in your community, in your home. When I go into the Safeway, in Watsonville, I know I might run into my patients or their family members. I might run into the people at Target and see them and then, hey, how's your mom doing? Okay, how's your baby? It makes a difference to know that you are accountable to the place that you work in. I ask that you please listen to your nurses. If there's an opportunity to talk to them, please do so. Our city council was told for months, years even, that it's just a few rabble-rousers. It's just people who are disgruntled. It wasn't. Please listen to your nurses, and if you have the opportunity to talk to them directly, one-on-one, however, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Renee Holmes.
You want to repeat that name?
Renee Holmes.
Good evening. Oh, yeah. Good evening. My name is Renee Holmes. I've been a registered nurse in the obstetric unit at Hazel Hawkins Hospital for 21 years. As RNs, we are bound not only by our ethical commitment to advocate for our patients, but also a legal requirement under California law to report unsafe staffing conditions. We cannot be silent when it comes to the safety of our patients. That is why I'm standing with my fellow nurses to speak to you about these serious concerns today. As OBRNs, my fellow nurses and I are highly trained and specialized. We are used to taking life-saving measures at a moment's notice. We give compassionate care in often very challenging circumstances. We are used to pitching in during emergencies, willing to come in on our days off to cover the hospital and our coworkers. But intentional short staffing of an acute care hospital is simply never okay. Senior administration has chosen to maximize profit by operating our OB department on a skeleton crew mentality. The CEO and director of nursing want us to do more with less. The problem is when OB nurses work short, it is ultimately our mothers, our newborn babies, and unborn babies that pay the price. Yet the director of nursing has insisted on organizing the way our nurses and vital support staff are scheduled that is widely disparate from staffing standards at nearby hospitals that are similar to ours in size and number of deliveries per year. For example, St. Louis schedules 4 nurses along with a charge nurse each shift. Me Memorial staffs their unit with 3 RNs and a 4th nurse that is on call for increased census and emergencies. But yet here at our public hospital, senior administration has chosen to staff the entire maternity department with only 3 RNs. While that might look good on paper, the reality is only 2 nurses might actually be on the unit. The 3rd nurse is not at the hospital but placed on standby. Emergencies, difficult births, and sick newborns can't stand by. They need their nurses at the hospital. And while our hospital boasts of a beautiful new women's health center with its own entrance for our expectant mothers, intentional short staffing poses a major problem for this new resource. We do not have a designated nurse on duty to treat the numerous walk-ins at this entrance. Instead, nurses on the unit are forced to stop their patient care assignment and race to assist new pregnant mothers and unborn babies. Nearly all acute care hospitals have a standard triage nurse or charge nurse who functions in this capacity, but
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. There's a time and a place for doing more with less, but risking patient safety in the hospital setting is definitely not it.
Do you have quite a bit more? And what I want to do, I want to remind everybody, we're going to be coming up 10 more minutes, and that's going to be your 30 minutes for the entire group. Okay. So if there's anybody else that wants to speak, we might want to let them have their turns. Okay?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Michelle Yanez.
Wait, hi, get this. Okay. I'm short. Are we going? Oh, okay. My name's Michelle Yanez. I'm a registered nurse. I have worked at Hazel Hawkins for 19 years, and I'm a surgical nurse in the operating room. I am 3rd generation Hollister resident. My children were born here. I have grandchildren that have been born here. When the opportunity came for me to go to nursing school, I had one intention in mind: to work in our public hospital. I believe the mission of a public sector nurse is. I have loved working here at Hazel Hawkins Hospital, but things have been changing in our small community and our public hospital. Hollister is experiencing a rapid growth. Our population's exploding with some 700 people moving here since 2010. With growth like this, there is a great deal of good for our community. But our small public hospital, however, this growth has meant increase in patients. Our senior administrator has done nothing to solve the chronic staff problems. The only thing that has gone up at Hazel Hawkins seems to be the administrator's salary and bonuses. About 10 years ago, the nursing staff in our department dropped drastically. We lost 2 coordinators and 3 surgery nurses, leaving 5 registered nurses to cover surgeries. Today, we 5 nurses continue to cover all surgeries. We do this 24/7, 365 days a year. In contrast, the amount of surgeries our hospital has performed has continued to climb by more than 200 cases per year since 2013. As of December 2015, our hospital performed approximately 2,900 surgeries with only 5 operating room nurses staff. As a registered nurse in California, I have a legal duty to speak out about patient safety and concerns. I take my duty as an RN seriously. That is why my colleagues and I have come before you today. I want to make it clear that we did not decide to speak to the public right away. Our nurses have tried to keep these serious concerns inside the hospital. We have tried repeatedly to speak before the hospital board of directors, who have shown a sworn duty to ensure the ethical care of our patients. Our numerous attempts have failed. We do not blame the elected board members. We know that the CEO and his top administrators have closed-door access to the board. We know that the Littler Mendelsohn high-powered attorneys, an extravagantly paid outsider law firm hired by the senior administration, has instant access to the board. We know that the intentional unsafe staffing level and other cuts to care by senior administrations puts our patients at risk. Our nurses are not here to ask for money, benefits, big bonuses. We are here because there is a serious staffing and patient safety concern at our hospital. We have come to you, our city council, to ask you to listen, to meet with our nurses, and to let us educate you about the dangers imposed by intentional short staffing and cuts to safe and quality care. The nurses believe that you chose to be a public servant for a reason. We believe you share the same commitment and duty to protect and serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Marcel Norman.
Hi, good evening. My name is Marcel Norman. I'm a registered nurse with 30 years experience, and I have worked at Hazel Hawkins Hospital on the med-surgical pediatric unit for 17 years. As a public sector nurse, I choose to serve this community by choice. The community I've dedicated much of my professional life to includes your family and mine. When I report to work, I am honored to give professional and compassionate care to my friends, my family, and my neighbors. Yet, our current senior administration is imposing increasingly dangerous cuts to patient care that go against a registered nurse who she commits her ethics and license to protect. While our community continues to grow and our hospital census rises, the CEO, CFO, and the director of nurses of our publicly funded hospital seem to be focused on raising their own salaries while cutting vital staffs. Every single day, every single shift, even hour by hour, I am forced to ask myself, how can I safely do the work I'm legally bound to perform to keep my patients healthy and alive? I'm forced to ask myself, how can I care for patients who are sicker and sicker when intentional and chronic short staffing makes me do the work of 2 or sometimes 3 team members at any given shift? I'm compelled to ask myself, how can I be the registered nurse, the certified nurse's aide, and the crucial ward clerk and still give my patients the care they need and deserve? I'm forced to ask myself, how can I provide the compassionate and top-level care necessary for our patients when I work 12 or more hours every shift without even the dignity of going to the bathroom, grabbing a drink of water, let alone taking a few minutes to eat? There is a saying, and a carefully researched and decades documented truism in healthcare: some cuts never heal. For frontline registered nurses, this phrase means more than profits can even quantify. When California nurses won the landmark legislation in our state for nurse-to-patient ratios, we set a historic standard of safety in acute care hospitals. We did not do this by allowing greedy administrators to work nurses on skeleton crew models. We do it by actively and self-sacrificially advocating for our patients, and as registered nurses, this is not just a decision of right from wrong. I want to conclude by stating that our nurses are not here to ask for money. We are not asking for increases in benefits. We are saying we don't want big salaries or prestige or more. We are only calling on our elected officials to stand with us and defend our public hospital and the community is meant to serve. We believe the city council members share this duty to the public and ask that you meet us outside this forum to learn more. We ask for your courage and support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we've come to the 30 minutes. I want to make sure that everyone's clear that the City Council cannot change the conditions at the hospital, and it's very important that all of you work with the Board of Trustees at the hospital if you're going to see the change. We appreciate you coming here. Let us know there is an issue. Obviously, we are part of the community, but just want to remind all of you and the public out there to understand that these decisions are made by the elected Board of Trustees at the hospital. But thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate your time and move forward.
Mayor, I just want to ask that these nurses they took time off. We have one more speaker and that's it.
I understand, but we also have an agenda and we have a 30-minute for that reason. But I do, again, I appreciate it. And if you want to come out tonight and each of you speak on your own, you're more than welcome to do that. Thank you very much. At this time, we will take a 5-minute break.
I don't care.
Move to item D, City Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't really have anything to report tonight other than I just wanted to comment on Marvin's comment about the street sweeping. As you know, all of our vehicles at the yard are equipped with a GPS system, and I will get with Heidi and we will give him the information as to when his streets or if we did miss something, then we can go back but we at least have the data to show that what we're doing there. So that's it. I will get with Marvin later.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move forward to item F, 51.
Thank you, Mr. Major and members of the City Council. Good evening. On April 4th, the City Council held a duly noted public hearing to introduce Ordinance 1129, an ordinance that pre-zoned a 7.5-acre property along with 4 contiguous unincorporated parcels into a low-density residential performance overlaying zoning designation, for which was a future annexation into incorporated limits of the City of Hollister. The staff was directed to schedule a second reading of the ordinance for today, April 18th. There has been no changes at all or to the proposed ordinance initially. The staff recommends that the City Council adopt ordinance number 1129. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions from council? Councilmember Flower?
So just as a refresh my memory, there's no development planned at this time for the site? They're just moving forward with annexation?
That's correct, Councilman Clark. At this time, it's just for pre-zoning purposes. As you know, right now, we won't. The next step would be to approve a annexation agreement and come back before you to approve a resolution to send the LAFCO application. But we won't be doing that until the tax sharing agreement gets resolved. At this point, it's just for pre-zoning. No developments proposed at this time.
Thank you.
Do we have any speaker cards?
Mr. Snow? On his card, he says he hopes that this is for affordable housing, is what his...
Yeah, and I thought around the thought to planning that about ordinance and how not some more than that, but we should do more about for housing, and we should change the ordinances, right? You know, the losses coming between city and county and all that. So that's we should do very efficient work when we do things, and you know the growth's gonna come. But the one thing that our concern is once these houses are built, we need to make a plan. The People's Committee, I get good idea, put input, feedback, and other citizens want to be on it. So we should start doing something now for our future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very, very much.
There are no more speaker cards, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any other questions from council? Is there a motion?
So moved that we approve resolution 2016-51.
1129.
1129.
Second.
Read by title only.
Read by title only.
Read by title only.
And waive full reading. All right, there's a motion. There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 5-0 vote. Move to item F52.
So that would be me, and it's our corporate's desire to purchase a 3/4 ton four-wheel drive pickup that could assist us with access to the riverbed and open spaces, along with a UTV and accompanying trailer. This pickup would also be used to tow our command trailer as well. Right now, we don't have a four-wheel drive vehicle to access the riverbed. As you know, we've had in recent months operations down there and in the open space areas where we would need to, if there was a law enforcement emergency or public safety emergency, have access to those areas to get our personnel down there. In the recent years, there have been injuries to public safety members in accessing that area. Fortunately for us, they have not been City of Hollister public safety members that have been injured down there, but I would seek to alleviate those kind of injuries. And also, since we're trying to upgrade our response to have EMTs with our current staff, this UTV would be equipped with backboards as well to assist with extrication of folks that are down there that may become injured. I'll take any questions you wish.
Any questions from council? Councilmember Luna?
Yes, I just wanted to know if you go ahead and purchase this, how long is it going to take before you actually have it in place? Will it be before maybe the rally?
Yeah, that'd be the idea. That would be before the rally, because we could use the UTV as we've used in the past for the rally as well.
Okay.
Councilmember Clower?
Yeah, Chief, if you can just give a quick recap of where the money's coming from for this.
So yeah, it's quite simple. We haven't we have some significant savings in salaries right now for this year. We've had at times up to 4 vacancies for the year. We expect actually this not to even go to the number of 76,000. We expect it to be quite lower than that. Lieutenant Olson is here. Actually did most of the research on it, and that was just the highest number we found. But we're expecting to be much lower, actually.
So it's coming out of your existing budget?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Friend?
No, that was kind of almost the same question. It was, so you're asking for a pickup, a UTV, and a trailer for the UTV?
Correct.
Correct. You already have the command trailer.
We do, and really what the idea being is that this could be a vehicle that could quickly be accessed to be utilized for an event that occurs either in an open space area, downtown, or whatever. It's designed to be rapid deployment.
Okay. Thank
you. Councilmember Flower?
Is a UTV like a gator with a roll cage?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 4-person vehicle, utility vehicle.
The question I had also was where you're at on the budget. Last year and the year before you were under budget. I just want to make sure we're tracking.
Yeah, we're significantly under budget right now.
The same way.
Correct, yes.
You've been running that department very efficiently.
Thank you.
Thank you very much on that. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Keith Snow. He asks, is this a good idea?
Yeah,
and have we done this before?
That's the thing. I thought we ordered a vehicle before, and I know you ordered trailers before for the rally, for a few rallies. I take trailers and all that, and someone asked Westwick, I mean, I'm for everything. I'm for that. I'm for safety. I'm for the police department. But like I said, the budget part, I mean, the point, you're budgeting in that part there, and savings, that's good. But I mean, do we have these already? Vehicles, or I know we have trailers and all that, but I'm for all that. So, well, I mean, you can okay anything like I said before, but it's up to the council, the Westwick, and I'm for the police department. So thank you very much.
I'm glad he actually brought that up. We haven't purchased, but I think 4 or 5 vehicles with general fund. I think every one of our vehicles has either been free or with grants since I've been chief, except for I think 5, which we did a lease on. We've purchased, I couldn't even tell you how many vehicles we've purchased with grants that were absolutely no cost to the city of Hollister at all. In fact, the trailer he's actually talking about was completely free that we acquired. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. Do we have any other questions?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to approve resolution 2016-53.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. We'll move forward to item F53.
Good evening. Item F53 is another item that is related to the Landscape and Lighting District. The staff is asking that you approve the preliminary engineer's report for the levy and collection of the annual assessments for the Landscape and Lighting District. Landscape and Lighting District, again, is the mechanism for which lighting and sound wall landscaping and some of the maintenance activities at Valley View Park where monies are collected. We no longer put new subdivisions into this particular district, so this will be an ongoing item for in as long as the district is alive. There will be additional items. For instance, the final accounting will be presented for adoption in July of 2016. So with that, this is just the next step in the Landscape and Lighting District.
Okay. Is there any questions from council? Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Keith Snow, he says on his card that he would like to know more.
And I did. I know we did this before, the fees. So is it like a fee again, right? So, I mean, like assessment tax and it's a fee for lighting, parts, and stuff like that in like the areas for the areas, like I said, or either answer my question there too. So I have more idea what's the thing, but I mean, what we can do is up to the board. I mean, it's like I said, so God bless.
Do we have any other speakers?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there a motion from the council?
I'd like to motion that we approve resolution 53.
Second.
54.
54.
Is it
54?
Yes.
I'm sorry, 54, you're right.
The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move over to item 54.
Again, this is me. Sorry about that. This is me. This is an item that I've been studying for actually several years now. We've lost 6 officers to jurisdictions kind of all around us, 5 to Monterey County, 1 to Fresno County area. It costs about $30,000 to $35,000 to recruit or train an officer through probation. That's our staff time, the cost for recruitment, all that stuff. I would seek to sort of do some steps to mitigate those costs. And this would be an idea that it's a studied idea that I've gone through with different agencies all over actually the nation now. And this would be, I would characterize this as the first phase of a recruitment and retention program. There's only a few items on this one, but I would look at in the future at a more comprehensive recruitment and retention process that I think that we need to embark on, both in the police department, but also in public safety in general. There are a number of measures, and some of those measures sort of border or go into the area that an MOU would be in, and I don't really think that that's advisable right now, since we're obviously, the groups that are involved in those have updated MOUs right now. The items that I would propose tonight are recruitment bonuses and a few things, a thing for lateral officers and recognizing their experience. These numbers that we came up with tonight are numbers that are sort of in the middle for our state and the Western, the highest being about $20,000, the lowest being in about the $2,500 range. So I'd be happy to discuss any of these things. I expect we do about 2 to 3 hires a year. That's been our average. And I think that total cost of this item is $30,000, which we could break that down into the specifics of it in a second if you want to. But it's much less than the $35,000 we spent on 6 officers that we've lost. So I'll be happy to discuss any of these things or this time.
Thank you. Any questions from Councilmember Clower?
Yeah, I spoke about this a while back, so I'm glad to see it's on the agenda now. I like how it's set up, but my only question is, this looks like it would work for recruitment, but then are we going to add something in for retention later on?
Yeah, that's what I was actually talking about. We, as a group, I would say, and I would say specifically the folks that negotiate with labor groups would probably take the lead role on some of the retention things, because we're talking about wages and benefits and stuff. Mostly it's benefit issues, and I think that that's at this time I would hazard not to do that at this time. I would wait a little bit. There's probably better ideas, and even the association themselves actually came to me and said that they would rather wait until they could discuss it later.
Okay. And then on number 2 of the measures, on the measures page, can you explain what a post-basic certificate is, just for those of us who don't have the acronyms?
Absolutely. So a post-basic certificate is when an employee who's a police officer has passed their first year or 18 months probation, okay? And at that time, they have a post-basic certificate, which is awarded to them by the state of California, which means that along with their training through an academy, they're now a certified police officer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Friend.
Again, my question is almost exactly what Carson was. I don't have any issue with the recruitment. My issue is going to be the next step, which is going to be the retention, which I think is something we all need to help you with, because, you know, sometimes it's not just money, it's something else we can do. That we need to work together and make sure that, you know, if they're looking at Fresno or Santa Clara County, that we can help them make that decision better to stay here.
You're right, and I provided quite a few ideas to the city manager and those folks that will negotiate. I also shared those same ideas with our fire chief as well. Again, you're hitting it right on the head, exactly.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent idea, and I think our fire academy might be looking at something like this too, that would help us keep the qualified young people here in town that want to do it in both agencies. But I think retention is going to be the next step, and that's going to be the hard one.
It is, and I think that my job is to protect this funding that you provide this police department to do its job. And when I, as a leader, see us losing 6 officers in 2 years, that's a lot of money that is leaving our area when we've spent this time training them. Many of them we've trained in highly advanced things like drug recognition experts, which is actually sort of expensive to get them in that. So,
Councilmember Luna?
Yeah, I have a question, Chief. How many positions do you currently have that you are wanting to fill?
we have 2 right now, open.
2?
Yeah, and possibly a grant position coming up.
And you just recently today have a new police officer?
We do, yes.
Yeah, okay. And by your explanation of being part of the post that you mentioned right now to Councilman Klauer, a lot of reimbursables comes with that, right? Once that they're part of the post, police, any time that there's travel or something like that, isn't it reimbursable to the city?
That's not necessarily, yeah. So you're talking about reimbursable training.
Training.
Yes. So post-training, as long as it's within, there's 3 different levels of training, are up to 100% reimbursable, which we like obviously a lot. And we try to do those as much. And many of those are mandated training.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have a few questions for you going to each of the items. Number 1, the recruitment bonus of $13,000, as was pointed out earlier, that's the bonus, but is there a time that they have to spend with us? Because it's not clear here is if they get to the point of completion of probation and they get their check and the next day they say, thank you for the check, but I'm now leaving to get paid a higher wage where I really wanted to work. What are we doing to make sure that's not going to happen?
Well,
Number 1.
that's the universal question of every agency in California. Okay, and the short answer is there's not a lot you can do about it, to be totally honest with you. That's why we need to work on the retention part too.
Right, but I mean, if we leave this open-ended, we're asking people to really sign in, get their training, pass probation, and move on. As an officer now, they're worth more money to one of the other cities. So I think there has to be some clarity in there or something in there to make sure that that's not going to happen.
So, yeah, you're asking about some sort of a contract, right?
Is there a 5-year commitment to us, or what can we do to look for people that are more committed? Because, again, if we're going to go chasing people for money, the problem becomes they're always chasing money.
Correct.
We're looking for people that want to live and work here and have their career here, not just people looking for the biggest dollar.
You're right. So, and that's the kind of people we want. We actually like to get local people, right? But that, again, that question is the same question that every single agency, fire and police, have asked themselves, because in the 90s we tried to do contracts. And then a lot of cities and counties got sued because of the contracts, because they weren't letting them out of them. So the contracts are something that we might want to look at, but there hasn't been a lot of success with those as far as employment contracts go. There's other things we can do, though. And that's the conversation we need to have with retention. And that's why I would tell you that you need to keep this conversation going within the retention aspects.
And I agree, but I'm just, if we're approving this tonight, does that mean tomorrow we can go recruit and offer them this, or do we have to come back and clarify what we're talking about?
No, I think we can set it up tomorrow.
But again, that's kind of the problem, right? That I'm pointing out is.
Well, excuse me. I think one of the things that the council wants to be cautious of is contracts go both ways. And you may run into a situation where you have hired somebody and the next day you may need to lay them off for whatever reason.
Right.
And you don't want to be in a situation where you have a contract that requires them to be here for 3 or 4 or 5 years because they received the bonus. So I think that's the age-old question, is that you're not going to get somebody to go one way on the contract. If you want them to be here for 3 years, they're going to want you to pay them for 3 years. So that's I think the problem. I think Chief Westrick is absolutely correct. I think you work on other methods of retention, not necessarily making sure that they stay here and there's a commitment here. So,
And there are a number of things that we discovered in our research that I think is pretty valid stuff. Again, we're not going to negotiate in public, so it's something that we would need to meet with the bargaining unit itself and see if they'd be amenable to some of those conditions. There are some good ones.
Okay. The next question I have for you is the recruiter bonus of $2,000. Is that recruiter a professional recruiter, or is that an everyday person that calls in and says, "I have somebody for you"? And
no, if you actually read it, it's a police officer within our agency. What we're trying to do is utilize our staff to recruit quality individuals into our agency. So if they have a person in mind, if they are out and about, or if they go to an actual recruiting, say at an academy, and they locate these people, a recruiter in our definition is a person who recruits a person, gets them hired, mentors them through their 18-month probation, and then at the end of that receives the last half of their recruiter bonus. It's an important part.
okay, thank you. The credit of 100 hours for the paid time off.
Mm-hmm.
Again, is that at what point? Is that as soon as they pass probation, or is that a year later, or?
So that would be recognizing a lateral officer's experience and giving them credit for their prior experience by giving them what would match up with their previous employee up to 100 hours of personal time off. Either that be sick leave or vacation leave, that's up to them. This is a technique that's used pretty much everywhere. We just have never broached it.
Okay, so that's a lateral move and not a
It is.
new
It's a lateral
recruit.
move.
So do they receive both benefits in number one, recruitment, or just the 100 hours?
No. It's the person that we're hiring gets that.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I mean. But number one was your recruitment bonus also.
Correct. Yes, they would.
They get both.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, Councilmember Gomez, you had a question?
No, I didn't have any comments.
Councilmember Clower?
Would it be possible to reword number 2 to the way that you explained it, so that it's a credit of up to 100 hours, and then maybe we just say something with accrued, however you would explain it, with the accrued hours from their past position?
Sure. You can put that in your motion, up to. That's fine.
Okay. I want to write that down.
Okay. Is there any questions from the public? Yes, Christine?
Yes. Keith Snow.
Go ahead, Mr. Snow.
Thank you, Marty.
Well, I wrote in the card too. I know that one got sworn in today. 2 were officers. Earlier today, Tom swore in. So you have to be very observant. So I know ours got sworn in 1 or 2. Like, I know what you said today. I'm trying to, when they got talking. But one thing I've been noticing too, I don't even look at the warrant registers, but I did like a lot of research. We'll be going to newspaper tomorrow. I got a whole stack. Do you know that we did a lot of training, and this training has money on the wind and the foster, like names, right? But they have like what kind of training? I know at the council. See, we have to be very efficient, very like he said. I know about contracts too. When you propose a contract on a peace officer, they're hiring for 18 months, and that's their probation time. Then we should give them a rate their bonus, and they want 5 years. How many years they want to be here, right? But for a fact, if the officer not doing duty, for my chairman said like a while back to the some ballet dancing thing, right? That's not good as a city, and our city should be valid with values and professionalism and job duties as a city. So the point is, I like our law officers. I want more officers, I want more firefighters. But for the fact is, I'm about proposing contracts. So you can do a contract. But the thing is, what I'm questioning, I will get to the newspaper tomorrow, is the training. Some of the points where it's a lot of training. What for? I want to answer the citizen. So the thing is, I'm getting, there's a lot of questions I'm going to give to newspaper like I've been doing. But I've been out of town, second round, still out there doing a lot of business things. But the point is right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Snow.
There are no more.
We have
Marty
Mr.
Richmond. I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Richmond.
I don't blame you for skipping me.
I'm sorry, Marty.
No, that's all right. I really don't blame you. Maybe I should sit down, but I won't. I agree that the public safety officers, be they police or fire, are not NFL players. We can't franchise somebody. We shouldn't try to get a contract because all we're doing is asking for trouble. So I agree 100% with that. I am concerned about getting a comprehensive. We may have to do things in the interim because of where we are, but we need to get a comprehensive view of this issue. And because there's a lot of things that go into this that we should be considering, one of which is our departments may be too small to keep people forever, because you can't blame young people who pick a career. They want to move up the ladder, and to move up the ladder in most departments you need openings. And I don't know what our rate of openings is at the top levels. You know what I mean, where people want to move to. But my guess is it's rather small because we have a limited amount of positions. So we may have to form it up like a military unit where we have our career people basically at the top, and at the lower level people come in, and if they want to stay here, fine. If not, they're going to go somewhere else because they want to move up the ladder. You can't blame anybody for that. The second thing is, it's my understanding there's a lot of public safety personnel that work other places that live here. I don't know if there's any truth to that. That's what everyone says. And how they know, I guess all their neighbors have sidearms. So they know everybody's armed, so they must be in the police department. But that's what I'm told. So we're never going to be able to pay what Los Altos pays or what Los Gatos pays. But, we could, for people who've been at Los Altos and Los Gatos for a long time, we should be poaching them. We should be poaching those people. There's no other nice way to put it. We got to go to them and say, you know what? You've made a lot of money. You got your house here. You got your wife here. And you got your kids here. Or you got your significant other here if you're not into wife and kids. And guess what? We can save you 5 hours a day in the commute and all the aggravation that goes with it. Time is money. Do you want to spend some time with your family? Hey, take your money, put it in your pocket, come here. We won't starve you. You won't do as well. But, time is money. And when you look at what it costs to commute somewhere, I don't know what they give you now. The government gives 55 cents a mile or whatever it is. You don't get it if you're driving to work. I assure you that. Only if you're a consultant or something, and that's part of your business. So we need to gather all that information. How many people here locally should we be out poaching, and how far do they drive to work? And once you take off what it costs to drive to work and all the hours they spend on the road, how much less are they really making here? We know they're making less, but is it enormous? And what's the gap? So I do think, if you need to do something in the interim to get us off the hot seat, sure. But, boy, this calls for a professional view to get a really good HR analyst to sit down, talk to the chief and get his view, and talk and look around. And I don't know if the chief's agreeing with me, he's making a face, or he's just saying, God, don't put an HR person in with me because that's not going to work out too well. They do know their business. The real good ones can tell you what the difference is worth and how much you need to attract people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other speakers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Keith Snow.
Mr.
He
Snow,
says
ready?
it's a good idea. Explain more, though.
He already spoke.
Oh, okay. Good.
Okay.
Done.
All right. Any other questions from council? Is there a motion?
Yes, I make a motion that we approve resolution 2016-55.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0 vote. Move to item F55. I will recuse myself from this item, being that I'm the owner of the building next door. And I will pass the gavel to the Vice Mayor Gomez.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Roland Resendez, and I'm a member here in the community of Hollister. I'm here to talk to you about a picnic table that was removed from the 400 block probably about 3 weeks ago. Just to give you a little bit more background, we discussed this before. Probably about, I think, the first weekend of February or so, a group of artists had organized to put together an interactive public artwork on the side of the vault. It's a chalkboard wall, and when you walk by, we decided to have some chalk out there that anybody can just draw or write a little inspirational message, something that we had saw on Facebook and thought it would be a great idea to bring here to Hollister. So we brought the chalkboard wall. It was funded just from private funds. All the different artists pitched in, provided their time and inspiration and artistic abilities to put a little chalkboard wall up there. It even has a little sign next to it. It's a circular sign. It says "Hello Hollister."
And I'm sorry, I haven't seen it. Is it actually on Ignacio's building?
It is. So,
on his building?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So we had to ask permission from him to put the art piece up, and once we started installing it, a bunch of other elements came into factor. We thought about putting a little loaning library out there for people just to come and just take a book and get a book and leave a book, loan a book. Somebody from Project Possible, his name is Casey Jasmine, he wanted to make and donate a picnic table for people to sit out there. So he made a customized picnic table that contains a little area for flowers in the middle and then a little container for the chalk. And this is how it all came together. Some artists organized like having a paint day out there, and there's been several different little events, I would say, out there. So the table was removed by the city, and since the table was removed, there was a lot of comments on Facebook from different community members that have approached us.
So I'm sorry, Roland, can I take a step back really quick?
Sure.
So what process did you guys go through to talk to the city about placing the picnic table there?
There was no process that we actually talked to the city about putting there.
The table was just dropped off?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
It was dropped off along with, it's in the little corner right there. And
did anybody let the city know that you guys dropped it off?
No, there wasn't actually. Right. So it was kind of I guess it was kind of a thing that they didn't really know, I guess, of the process of doing it. They just decided that they would put it up. All these different elements came in. Casey approached us and we were like, okay, fine. He wanted to donate a table. He wrote his information there that it was donated by Project Possible, which is his little company that he runs and whatnot. So it had sat there for a number of months without anybody saying anything. Everybody was using it. The Gavilan students were using it. Teachers here that have special needs students were using the table. Children would go over there and color, and they'd have little play groups and stuff there. But it's since been removed. So we've talked to Mr. Avera about that, and he said the process of getting the table put back would be to come to the city council, just like they did with the statue of Eric, and offer it up as a gift to the city. At that point, the city would take ownership of the table. They would agree to maintain that table in the area. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much, that's it. That's the reason we're here tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, Roland. We appreciate that.
Sure.
So let me take a step back here. So this action would allow the table to remain there. Would we have any liability for this thing? And we also have an RFP out there for a potential development? I mean, what are we looking at?
And I appreciate everybody going back and kind of giving the history, and I'm glad that everything came out and was completely above board here. So yes, about I think the Friday before Easter, I asked our crews to remove the table. I hadn't, for some reason, like I said, I thought it was showing up on the day that people were actually out there. I didn't know that it was there all the time, and that's kind of my fault for not realizing that actually existed. So I take responsibility in that. We had the table removed. Yes, the way that the process was set up sort of with Eric is that you are accepting a donation. And by accepting this donation, as any donation, you're going to assume the liability and things for that nature. The resolution and the agreements generally have a clause in there, though, that when it results in bad repair, the city can remove it at its discretion. So there is that coverage. You asked real briefly about the 400 block RFP. I believe those are coming back on Wednesday or Thursday of this week, so we should have an item to council on May 2nd that discusses those proposals, however many there are that will be submitted. So yes, you're going to have some liability if you want this to exist. If not, we still, I think the table is still in our possession. It is in safekeeping down at the yard. We left it there until we got the determination from the council on whether or not you wanted to see it returned or not.
So are we approving? we're approving just accepting the picnic table, right?
Correct.
So not actual specific location for it. So say there's a change, and the council decides to accept an RFP and allow some type of development there, we can find another location for it.
Sure. There's two things. We can seek another location, or we can seek to find the folks who donated the table and return it to them.
Okay. Do we have questions from the council before we go to public? Carson?
So by accepting the table, do you have the right to make the decision on whatever you want to do with it, or does it have to come back to the council?
Well, if the table ends up being in a state of bad repair, that would be on us. That's because that's just a liability thing for the for staff or for the city. So we would be able to manage that. If the council moves forward with an RFP and there's development practices, and I would come back for you with a different location, if that's what you wanted to do, or we can, like I said, return the table.
Now, this is probably super tedious, and I don't even really want to ask it, but I haven't been seeing the table up close. Is it something that we would say, this is a city built to whatever? There's a lot of liability.
I have pictures of it if you want me to plug in.
It's not so much about what it looks like, but it's very specific on anything that we put in public space. I just want to make sure that we're not.
It's a beautifully made
There's
table.
A lot of weird stuff that can happen.
That is true, but my understanding is that it was handmade. It wasn't a table that was purchased at Lowe's or Home Depot or anything. So I'm assuming that it's built relatively stout. But like I said, I'm not an artist, and I'm not going to judge whether or not something is art or not. So
it's just a picnic table. It's like this table with benches on the side. And in the middle of it, it's got somewhere where you can plant flowers, and then it's got a little area to store the chalk. Brand new. It was just made right before we put up the board for that specific location by Casey Jasmine.
Thank you. Councilmember Friend?
Well, I hate to be the guy that dropped the sour note on this, but my issue is, and I completely support whatever we can do for the art community. My concern is within weeks of us putting this there, it's going to look like Dunn Park, and there's going to be people living under it, over it, on top of it, around it. There'll be campsites, and I hate to say this, but that's the reality we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I wish we could do something on the days that the artists show up and let them use it, but it's going to be there 24/7. And pretty soon there won't be any artists being able to use it because they will claim ownership on it and they will camp out there.
Yeah, so if I could just address that. Like I said, it's been there for several months, and that hasn't been a problem at all. It's not just for the artist use, it's for the entire community. So like I said, there's been students that come from Gavilan College, teachers, that take their students there. Bill and I had discussed that prospect, that it had been a problem in the past, and my answer to you would be that at that point, if it did become a problem, then you could address the issue then, because at this point it's going to be your table. If there are some kind of concerns, then it could probably be removed and the other options can be pursued.
I guess the way the measure reads, it says that in the event the city decides to cease the public display, we can do that. Mm-hmm. And I guess that would be something we look at. If it becomes a homeless encampment, we're going to cease doing it. So as long as
it would defeat the purpose of what it's intended to do. I agree with you on that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Councilor Luna?
Yes. Roland, I believe that the table was set up there in March, wasn't it? It was only there a month?
The first week of February.
The first week of February?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I do go by there. I did see it.
I've seen it.
I didn't see people sitting there at all. And, and I go through there almost every day. Mm-hmm. But my concern would be that right now we're in the process of, the RFP coming in for that property. Mm-hmm. And I really don't think that if the table was set back over there, it would be there too long. It will have to be removed again. You have pictures of it. I have pictures of the tables at Park Hill, and they're pretty bad too. And I'm thinking, is there any way that it can be worked out to maybe set the table up at Park Hill somewhere? I know the other day I was up there and there was people sitting on the grass with a picnic. The tables that are on this side of the road, right up the hill, they're not in very good condition.
No.
The garbage can that's sitting next to the table was all bent, with no liner. So I'm thinking, would it be best maybe to set it in another location? But the issue here is the city going to take ownership of that? Is that right?
Yes.
That's where we're at. That's where you're at.
Sorry.
So my opinion is that this time I would not agree with that, because I think that there's some other arts coming up, and you've done a very good job in the other projects. So at this time, I don't agree in actually keeping that table for this time. Okay? That's my opinion.
All right.
Thank you, Councilmember. We'll go ahead and go to the public. Do we have speaker cards?
Yes, Vice Mayor. Keith Snow.
That's excellent. I think that's a good idea. You guys should go for that. If it's a donation, like when Paulina was the councilwoman before, in 2011, I donated 2 wheelchairs to the community center of the Fairleigh. Wasn't mentioned it because for the people that need it. But it's like, this is amazing about the vault, right? And if you said you didn't recognize this, I'll go over there on your side, Mickey, west side, as the cars, watching cars on the cars and sidewalks, lawns, out there about Campbell, Westwick, right? I've seen all kinds of illegal activity over there on your west side. I mentioned Tier Road to you too, but it's a donation. I feel only thing they should do is to okay this, and then amount with cement so that they won't go away. So, and one thing, how that's very insulting to talk about homeless people. That nowhere to go. I mean, if you look in the paper 1 year later, wait a year for the camp over there. No, we had to do something city. That's very insulting. That's really to my intelligence, because we need help the homeless people, but not say a homeless person be over there what you got saying, right? And be camp over there. No, what we need to do is put a likeable cement and get the table.
Thank you, Keith. Any other speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
All right, thank you. So it looks like we have and forgive me if I'm not interpreting this correctly, but it sounds like we may want to maybe, we have a couple of options. It seems like we could either hold on to the table until we find out what happens with this RFP, maybe have the donor come and pick it up and they could store it if they want, or we could entertain another proposal up here to maybe bring back to the council of placing the bench elsewhere. It doesn't sound like it's the consensus of the council to keep it or put it where it was before, if I'm not mistaken. Any other discussion or questions?
So I guess you're saying we have an option to wait till we see what happens with the RFPs, or put it out there and deal with it once that becomes a reality, whatever happens out there? Or
Well, you don't necessarily have to wait for the RFP if you already are pretty solid on not receiving the table and placing it there. You know, we could always direct staff to come back with an alternate location for it if we want to accept it, or just not accept it and give it back to the donor.
If I can make a quick suggestion, Vice Mayor Gomez, if you want to call for a motion, if we don't receive a motion, then we'll take the next steps, and I can come up with a couple of plans. I just want to make sure that we have a motion, because there is a resolution on the agenda.
What's the desire of the council?
Okay, so I'm going to look at this as completely separate from the RFP. So whatever I do right now has nothing to do with the RFP that comes in 2 weeks. Absolutely. So I'm going to move to approve Resolution 2016-56.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? The motion fails.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. So we have a 2-2 split vote. So we'll allow you to come back with some ideas in the near future.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roland.
So the motion died?
Failed.
Thank you.
Excuse me, a 2-2 votes no action, Christine.
No action.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll go ahead and go to...
Okay.
You're good.
Leave it on.
Just to make sure I'm clear. I'm going to recuse myself on this item too. I'm a property owner near this development.
Okay, nobody could leave to use the restroom or anything. So. We'll go ahead and go on to resolution, item 56, resolution 2016-57. David?
Thank you. This item is for the City Council to approve the subdivision improvement agreement for Saddlebrook Properties, Tract 326, and authorizing the execution of the agreement for the improvement with BMC Promise Way LLC. This project is a 43-unit public utility district PUD subdivision located between San Benito Street and Lad Lane, north of Southside Road, and is a private development. The tentative map was approved by the Planning Commission on the 21st of September 2015, and there were no appeals by either the applicant or other interested parties. This project will annex into Community Facilities District Number 2 for fire and police services, and Community Facilities District Number 4 for landscape, park, and public infrastructure maintenance and operations. The interior of the project will be maintained by a homeowners association, so realistically their fees for the CFD number 4 will be much smaller than what other projects are because of the amount of the amount of infrastructure that would be actually placed in the CFD. With that, I'll entertain any questions. If the applicant is here, if you want to ask them any questions. But
great. Awesome. Thank you, David. Do you have any speaker cards?
Yes, Vice Mayor. Case Snow.
I mean, here in development in the major South Alaska, when did a contract when C and all that, so like the lawsuit and all that. And that's the thing too. I just thought about that too. When they develop these houses, remember a while back, I think a couple of years ago, a year ago, all developers had to, when they do a house, a unit, had to put in a unit, a gray water unit. That's a 50-gallon recycled water unit for every house they built in Seal Hollister. So I know I'd refresh you guys' memory. I'm Biddy there, I'm Mickey there, and I'm Mickey there, and I was there, but Ray Finn was there, and the mayor was there. So I remember on the Oregon implement to the developer. I just thought about that. So wait a minute. You implement, the council implement all developers. Any unit in our city had to put in a 50-gallon gray water unit on the house premises that they develop on the unit. New council okayed it to all the developers. So I wanted all these other houses been built. I'm gonna go and ask, they have a gray water unit on the house they built right by Fairview. A lot of units over there. So I'm gonna do my little homework over there. Because you said you guys implement the council that there'll be gray waters of 50 gallon, and dates I know Winter was here too at the time when you guys okayed that thing on RCA Hollister. You implement that ordinance and all developers in the city. So I'm wondering, every developer, and I know growth is a factor because of traffic control, but I'm wondering, when you do this okay today, make sure you put that in the contract or whatever you guys are doing. And we got to talk about things and talk cheap. So make sure put that gray water unit, 50-gallon unit in there, recycle. This is conservation. Thank you.
Any other speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll bring it back to the council for discussion. Do we have any questions? Councilmember Friend?
This project is within the city limits.
Yes, it is.
Currently, right?
Yes.
And all the landscaping and fire police services, that CDF is all signed and sealed.
CDF number 2 is for fire and police. CDF number 4 is for other infrastructure that this project will be paying to maintain. That will be a little bit will be contributed towards street lights and some of the paving and a little bit of the retention basin that's immediately north of this project. So the landscape and lighting district, they do not annex into that one because that is no longer we're no longer taking projects into that.
Just clarification, you just mentioned that it was in process for fees for police and fire?
Yes, CFD number 2 and CFD number 4 are currently in the process of being annexed into them. They will come back at a later date for that to be annexed.
So as it stands right now, they're not included here.
Not yet. It actually comes at a later council meeting. It will occur prior to any units being sold. The applicant, if you would like to say something.
Good evening, Michael Cady, UCP BMC Benchmark. When actually the City Council approved the tentative map, there's a condition that we annex into CFD number 2, which is the fire and safety CFD, and CFD number 4, which is actually a CFD UCP benchmark set up in a previous development that all new developments now have to annex in to carry their fair share. I have signed a consent to annex the property into CFD number 2 and CFD number 4. So we've fulfilled that condition of approval. We will do that condition of approval. I think what David is telling you is there's additional process on the city's behalf as it proceeds. But the property, me as the property owner, has annexed ourselves and authorized annexation into CFD number 2 and CFD number 4. And the property's an HOA. So between the HOA and the CFD, there are no additional costs to the city. It is a zero balance development. So I hopefully that clarifies.
Does that clarify your question, Councilmember Luna?
Right.
Okay,
It
great.
does. Thank you.
Yep. Any further questions from the council? If not, what's the pleasure of the council?
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2016-57.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where are we now? Oh, okay. All right. G61 report from city council members regarding their committees. Councilmember Luna? Councilmember Friend?
Yes, I have 3 committee meetings I want to talk about briefly. First one was the San Benito County Intergovernmental Committee met on April 7th. On the agenda, we had an excellent discussion on San Benito County and San Juan Bautista growth plans, and they were explained and laid out to the committee. We had a discussion on the library impact fees and needs assessment, and that's in the process right now. And that took up most of the meeting. The other meeting I attended was the San Benito County Fire Protection Advisory Committee, and we had an excellent chief's report on all the activities that happened within the county, fire and training, and equipment apparatus report. And the third meeting was on the presentation that we saw this earlier today from the Water Resources Board, and I had a meeting there with that where we saw that presentation before this. And that was it.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Gomez?
I did. Sorry, didn't have any committees this time.
Okay. Councilmember Clower?
I attended a medical marijuana ad hoc committee meeting with Councilmember Friend and the city attorney, and we reviewed several other cities' ordinances and talked about possibilities moving forward. And that's it.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Friend covered the committees I was on. We'll move to item G62, informational report from City Council. Councilmember Luna?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I attended the Girls Inc. luncheon at San Juan Oaks, and there was about 200 people there. It was very, very nice, very interesting program, educational program for San Benito County, and it was great to see the involvement. Also,
Mr. Richmond, you guys, thank you very much. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Thank you.
Time out.
They're going to rescind your.
Okay. I attended a meeting with a couple of senior citizens on a housing issue in the West Side, and that is it. And at this time, we can request what we would like to see maybe on the next agenda
Yes.
And I really would like to request a detailed report on business license pertaining and the process pertaining to the rally. And also, could you give us, City Manager, could you give us a report at the next meeting on the Marriott Hotel? I've been there a couple of times, and it seems like there's no activity, but it must be going on inside. The windows are up. So that would be my request.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Friend?
No.
Okay. Vice Mayor Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. Number one, I was hoping to request an update, not just from the ad hoc committee, but also staff on next steps on the medical cannabis ordinance, and maybe a timeline on when we think we'll move forward with the revised ordinance. And then number two, you got the email this morning, Billy. I copied the mayor on it as well. If we could just take care of that issue on the corner of Sunset and Cerro Vista, especially the public right-of-way, the sidewalks. I hate to hear parents or kids or anybody rolling on the street. So if we could just take a look at that and address it. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Clark?
Yeah, I went hiking at the Pinnacles, and it's pretty awesome. It's beautiful out there right now, and it's only about a 40-minute drive if you can push it a little bit. And if you get there early, you don't have to deal with the crowds. You catch them on the way back down. But it's beautiful, and it's right nearby, and I suggest if you can, get out there and check it out before it gets too hot.
Speaking of the Pinnacles, there is going to be a 100-year birthday celebration on the 20th, Wednesday, I believe, at the Pinnacles. So if the community wants to show up, you're more than welcome to be out there, celebrate the 100th year. I have good news. PG&E has contacted me. I've been pestering them for quite a while about our street lights, changing them to LEDs. We were looking at a few more years, but they have a window opening for us. They might be able to do this by the summer, change all of our lights. They've requested some information to be completed so they can put us on the schedule, and let's hope that can happen. That will actually save us money rather quickly, and then in a few more years it'll save us quite a bit more money as the PUC does some of their rate changes. So we're looking forward to that. As far as upcoming issues, I'd like to maybe have a special meeting where we can invite code enforcement. Really would like to address this issue of peddlers and solicitors roaming the city, lying to our residents, and being very aggressive in their ways. It's creating quite the problem. Also, see what we can do about, before we issue some permits, make sure the residents understand what they're signing on some of these, what some of these salespeople are claiming are not true, and then we're ending up with the problems later as far as people saying they're lied to and they didn't know. So if we can look into having that meeting with code enforcement, also seeing what we can do to help code enforcement. There are several properties in the city that I know code enforcement goes out, gives them a warning, they comply for the day, then they go right back to their same ways, and then code enforcement comes back a week later, and it's a cat and mouse game that needs to end. So I want to see what we can do to help code enforcement make their jobs easier, and at the same time let the residents know what's legal and what's not legal, and after that we'll move forward with the next part of what we need to do. Thank you, Mr. Snow. City Manager?
Thank you. I have taken note, and we'll get those on an agenda as quickly as possible. We also are looking at having a joint meeting with the Hollister School District. It looks like it's going to probably be your second meeting in May. It'll occur probably in this building at 5 o'clock, so we'll try not to have a closed session item, so you'll be able to go from 5 to 6:30, adjourn that special meeting, and then conclude with your normal regular meeting. Talked to Dr. McIntyre, and I think he's trying to figure out from his folks, his board, if that's going to work for him. So we've been going back and forth the last couple of days, but it looks like that'll happen sometime in May. Other than that, that is it for me.
I'd like to add also, I'd like to see if we can install some of these crossing lights along 4th Street. I forward you an email, the flashing lights, maybe at College.
The on-demand lights, like at the high school and the okay.
Well, yeah, but they're just the sign, or on the sign, they're flashing lights,
the
strobe lights.
Just the strobe, okay.
So we can look at 4th Street along College would be it's a very important part. I think Powell would be another, take a look at where we can put them. I see a lot of kids trying to cross the street when I'm going out of town in the morning, and it's not the safest.
You just want the yellow.
It's a strobe.
Okay.
A warning, flashing, pretty high. It's solar powered also, so it makes it easy for them to install. It's a very reasonable price. So.
I was gonna make a joke. I got you.
Some really good stuff out there. Let's keep
every time you say solar, I giggle.
It's the newest technologies. No major cost. It's a $5,000 deal, and kids can cross the street without getting hit. So, City Attorney.
Speaking of solar, some time ago I had been given, and I passed it to Soren. He didn't give me the memo back about the solar power project purchase agreement. He did a little memo to me. What I'd really like to do is give it to each of you tonight. Not to read tonight, but if you have any questions, to call Soren or myself, and then we can put it on an agenda for an upcoming meeting.
Excellent. I just saw the bill, and I'd like to talk about it. Okay. Chief?
Not of much. We do have a recruit in the academy right now, and we hired one today. So recruitment efforts are still going, and we have a closing date for a recruit position on the 29th of April. And if there's people that are out there that are watching this meeting, they can go to joinhpd.org and find the job description for a recruit officer and fill out an application and get it in before the 29th. We're good to go. Thanks.
Excellent. Assistant City Clerk?
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move forward to item G63.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an item that you had to just kind of take a quick look at. I put it on the agenda as a report. Mr. O'Neill from OES wasn't available to be here this evening, so I'm going to put off having the actual resolution or adoption of the hazard mitigation plan put off until probably May 2nd. I was also a little bit delinquent in getting it to some of our key personnel. We have probably a few changes that we'd like to make. Specifically, I mean, even just getting some of the names correct as who's in charge of doing what, and making sure that we have proper names, first names of who our chiefs actually are at this point. So there is some things that we'd like, just minor, I think mostly minor things. I'll talk to Chief Westrick and Bob Martin del Campo tomorrow about any of the other things. The Board of Supervisors actually adopted this mitigation plan, I believe, about a month ago. But I think that the changes that we would like to have is probably not real substantive, I hope. So what this is the benefits of adopting the multi-jurisdictional hazard plan makes us basically eligible for California's Disaster Assistance Act money. In the event that we do have an event, we can actually recoup some of the money through the state of California. So it is important that we have this. I can tell you, as you can see, when you read the document, it started actually in 2008. I didn't think it was that long ago, but apparently it was. This is something that I think Kevin inherited when he came on board. I know Chief Cheshire worked on it for quite some time as well. So again, it's for you to take a look at, information only. I will bring it back at a future meeting for adoption, and hopefully I will be able to present you with a little bit cleaner copy of at least the current conditions of staffing, if nothing else.
Okay.
Was there any question?
Any questions?
Nope.
to speaker cards? Okay, thank you. Item H, I, J, and K, there is no business.
Move for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor? Aye, motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight, and see you soon.
Well, not thank everybody.